Job well done. Hello and welcome back. It is December 1st, it is 34 degrees, and I am getting into the Yuletide spirit. And for me that means closing off a whole suite of projects that have been hanging over my head so that I can move into the new year unimpeded and ready to go with a whole bunch of new projects. Today I am going to be attempting to alter all of the items that I just ditched on that chair back there. We are going to be hemming and fixing a bunch of them, so I'll show you what each of the items are, and then I'll show you what we're going to do with them to try and make them fit my body better so that I can actually wear some really cool items. There's a lot of antique and vintage pieces in there, and most of it's been thrifted, and I'm just really excited to be able to add them properly to my wardrobe finally. So let's get to it.
Now look, 4 is really a conservative number because in this case, finishing is a state of mind, and in this case, it's more that I didn't film a couple of the items being completed because it was hemming, and that is a really boring thing to watch on videos. So I left those to the side, and 4 of them have been filmed as part of this process. I picked this skirt up in an antique store in Melbourne, in Victoria, and I don't have a conclusive date for it. It could be the 80s does the Edwardian era, it could be the 40s does the Edwardian era. It's probably earlier rather than later, judging from the tags on the skirt and the side closure and the metal zipper. But the biggest problem with this skirt, other than the bent hooks and eyes, is the fact that the beautiful velvet bow detailing on it has completely started to separate from the skirt itself. So that is going to need to be completely patched up as part of the mending process. For those of you that have watched my thrift haul video, you may be familiar with what I am referring to as the pumpkin skirt. It is a couple of sizes too big for me because I chronically buy things without trying them on. For this one, I'm just going to put some additional darts into the top of the skirt. It has existing darts there, so I'm hoping that I can just get in there inside where it's already got those darts and just expand them out a little bit further. And in a twist, the skirt that I'm wearing today is also something that I need to mend, so I'm going to jump into something a little bit more suitable for 34-degree weather. The actual linen on the outside of the skirt has begun to wear away, and so I just need to do a little bit of patching around the pocket where it gets the most wear and tear. Step 1, I gotta get access to those darts. They've been sewn down on the interior of the skirt, but the lining hasn't been fully attached, so I can get in there quite easily. All I need to do is get out my quick unpick and go a little bit ham at it for a while.
Pretty good. It's on my waist, and since I am the sort of person who will tuck shirts in a lot, it'll actually be good to have that little bit of ease to it. So now all I need to do is iron the darn thing, and it should be okay. It aligns pretty well. Like, it's gained just a little bit of extra bulk from doing it the way I've done it, but honestly, no one's gonna notice except for me, and I've managed to keep it relatively regular, I think. Like, it's not too noticeable unless, you know, you've joined me for this little adventure. So, let's see how I go. Update. Okay, so iron the skirt, flatten the seams, still not quite looking right. I think I know what the problem is though. The problem is that I've got such a long torso that the seams are now sort of tapering out far too quickly, and I actually need to elongate some of those darts down because otherwise it sort of almost starts to form a half pleat. So if I actually extend the line of those pleat darts down further, I think it will sit better on my body and my frame. So I'm going to take them down slowly. So I'm going to probably, you see how it finishes about there? I'm probably only going to take it down another sort of 2 inches, I guess, and just really taper it so that it gets really low and really thin, and then trim it off. I'm hoping this is going to work. I think it will. Worst case scenario, I just unpick it. I won't cut into it or anything at this point. Yep. We'll see how it goes. It should be fine. I got this. I can do this. No stress. No stress at all. Okay, 2 for 2. Catch me making a total mess of everything. There we go. Although, to be fair, they didn't trim their own threads through this. Like, you know, as lovely as this thing is, they haven't done a lot of the finishing things that are necessary. So I don't feel so bad. It's all good. Okay. All right. Number 3 and 4 coming up. No stress. No pressure.
Did I discover a long overdue mending item the day after I filmed my intro? Of course I did. That's why you're getting this surprise curveball of my favourite corduroy skirt that I purchased at a thrift shop. Once again, 8,000 sizes too big for me, and have altered down previously into a pleated back, but I got 3/4 of the way through adding belt loops to fasten it to my waist, and I didn't do the front ones, so we're just going to add a couple of final belt loops to this skirt. Lucky for me, I stashed some excess fabric from the first time I altered this skirt, so all I did was measure out a couple of pieces that were going to be appropriate size, width and length for belt loops, and I hemmed each side with a simple straight stitch, and once that was completed, I measured them up to size for the skirt itself. I also took a moment to trim off any of the loose threads that I had previously left behind and may have also come loose during general wear and tear, because this skirt really is one of the staples of my wardrobe. Once I found the appropriate length, I cut 2 new belt loops, providing a little bit extra to fold over underneath and provide a clean edge, and I got to work sewing. I did one side by hand and then I did the other side with machine, just to compare and contrast how quick and easy versus how clean and precise the lines could be. I time-lapsed the hand sewing element of this, it really wasn't too long in the grand scheme of things. It took about 10 minutes, 12 minutes to do one belt loop, and instead of tying off on both the top and the bottom of each belt loop, I actually sewed a little gentle back stitch that was hidden up from the bottom to the top so that I didn't have to tie off and tie back on again twice. For good measure, I noticed that the button hole had actually started to become quite rough and was pulling apart just from sheer wear and tear. So I went through with the thick satin stitch and I redid the buttonhole as well. So now it's nice and clean. Given the sheer delicacy of this specific skirt and the fabric that it was made out of, I really wanted to take care to make the stitches sturdy but also hide them quite well, especially between the velvet and the base of the skirt. It was for this reason that I decided to do all of the stitching for it by hand, and that did take a little while, but it was very rewarding to do. And I felt like I got to really observe more about the structure and the way that the skirt was made originally by doing this as well.
Look at this. Look what I've just found. One, two. I wonder how long they've been there for. Let's move those, shall we? I don't think that layout's quite right. Alright, so how much of this is going to fall away once I do this? One, two. Man, the fabric is so delicate that like this side of the bobby pin had actually ripped through the fabric from the pressure of holding that velvet up. So I need to really actually reinforce this properly, because otherwise it's just going to continue to rip with the weight. And so if I can disperse it enough, hopefully it will actually give it enough support that it won't keep tearing through this beautiful but delicate kind of old fabric.
The bow was particularly heavy, and so it did take a lot of effort and work to get that to anchor nicely and neatly back onto the skirt. And last but not least, my favourite straw hat, which also came from a thrift shop, is looking a little bit worse for wear, and I find that it tries to blow away on particularly windy days. So I decided to try and anchor it down to my head using some lovely strips of lace to tie underneath my chin. The lace I'm using is a vintage machine-made lace, but it's quite pretty and I enjoy the floral print on it. I must admit that I felt very much like Sophie Hatter from Howl's Moving Castle during this little project. So in this little part of the video, I am just folding over the lace twice ways and then sewing it into the brim of the hat. I was surprised at how easy it was to actually sew onto a straw hat. It's not something that I've ever done before. Millinery is not one of my strong suits, but I really enjoyed doing this little element of the project. When I tell you it is a total relief to move into the new year with so few projects still left on my plate, I am not exaggerating in the slightest. I am really, really excited to be able to share more content with you all in the new year and more of my projects. I'm looking forward to sharing some of the thrift finds that I have had over this summer break. And thank you so much for watching. And please remember to like, subscribe, and comment on whichever one is your favorite project. Thank you so much. Bye.